but with swelling pride that I welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the first edition of Global Youth Model United Nations.
Global Youth Model United Nations is a team empowering youth and pursuing global peace.
Glory to God. Hallelujah. Welcome back, viewers all over the world. Please keep sharing if you are watching from Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, any platform you are watching. My name is Remigius. I'm a senior pastor of Excellent God Ministry. By the grace of God, I am the host of this first edition of the International Youth Global Summit of the Excellent God Ministry. Tonight, I have a honor and a privilege to introduce to us Mr. Frank Osayi. Frank, it's good to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me clearly? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
That's great. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been looking forward to this for almost a week now. Anytime there's a gathering where you're bringing people together to inspire people, to empower people, count me in. I'm excited, and obviously thank you for this opportunity as well to share a few thoughts and a few ideas on entrepreneurship in general. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Frank. Before I allowed Frank to minister or to proceed further, please, I would like to also to recognize the presence of Reverend Enobo. Reverend Enobo, it's good to have you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to share the platform with you guys. Thank you, Frank, for coming on board. Thank you, CEO of Excellent God TV and Senior Pastor of Excellent God Ministry, Government Island.
Thank you. I also have a friend of mine, which happened to be my cousin, Dr. Hero. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Pastor Glory. I'm very grateful. Thank you for bringing me on board. Mr. Frank, Thank you for being on board. Thank you. You're welcome.
The pleasure is mine.
All right, Fran, the stage is yours. God bless you, sir.
Well, thank you. So I guess I came in here to kind of talk about entrepreneurship in general. But before I jump into all that, I think it's fair to say, I guess I'm going to introduce myself. But before I even jump into all that, I just want to say, like, I've known Pastor Glory for a while now. We've connected. He's invited me to his church, and I can boldly say on a core level that he's just a good person from the heart. So I just want to express my gratitude to you once again for doing something like this, for everything that you do, trying to help others and trying to inspire others as well. Now, I am not a pastor like you, but I love to preach and I love to teach, people just how to live a productive life, how to live their best life, how to become an entrepreneur, and how to work on your leadership, and just how to really win in this thing that we called life. Lots of people have poured into my life over the years, and I think I've dedicated myself now moving forward to pour into other people's lives as well, to reciprocate what has been given to me. So just to share my story very quickly, my name is Frank. I was born in a small village somewhere in Nigeria. I grew up not really having much, but I'm super grateful to my parents because they always had vision in life. And it's because of them, the stepping stone that they made, and what they did is that has enabled me and empowered me to be able to be here today. So I just want to thank them for what they do. They found themselves moving from city to city, village to village, state to state, always in search for better opportunities, and they always took me along. So I kind of learned one thing or the other. And it's funny when I look at my parents. On one hand, when I look at my mom, she's this entrepreneurial kind of a person, right? She loves to create, she loves to try new things, she loves to start a business. And one thing that she never really had was the patience to do one thing for a very, very long time. And then I look at my dad, on the other hand, he's like this ultimate patient individual, right? He could do one thing for 50 years if no one told him to do anything different. And so those are my parents. And when I look at myself, I seem to have married the best of both worlds. On one side, I love to create. I love to, start businesses. I love to try new things. And I'm just that kind of a go-getter individual. On the other side, like my dad, I have this tremendous amount of patience, and I could stick to something like a stamp until it delivers. So that's me. My parents always told me that education was the key to success, and they tell almost everyone that as well. Especially from people from my background, from my culture, from my tradition. It's just the mentality that education is the way out, right? And that's great. I believe education is important. I think we should have it, but I don't necessarily think that it's the way to achieve success in this economy that we're living in today, in any part of the world. It is a great stepping stone, but it's not the ultimate. So they instill that belief in me from earlier on, like you need to go to school, graduate, get the best a degree. Either you're a doctor, you're an engineer, or a lawyer, or you're a loser, right? If you're not one of those three, it's not happening. So they instilled that in me, and I believed in it. I thought by the time I graduate, everything would be great. I ended up graduating, and I couldn't even find a job in the field that I studied. And I remember I moved to the Republic of Ireland in 2009 for better opportunities. I moved to study. I was studying. I graduated, could not find the job, and next thing I did was to pursue my master's, which is what most people do today, right? They decide to further their education, and I did exactly that as well. And luckily, after my master's, I got a job. I started working as a software engineer, and I've been a software engineer for a very long time now. And you know, it's great. I remember I was very, very excited, but after the third year, that excitement started to dim a little bit. And I was wondering, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's the environment, maybe it's the culture, maybe it's this company. Let me change my environment and let me switch jobs. So I decided to do that, thinking that was a problem. The first year in my new job, I was excited again, but after a while, I was in the same position. I didn't feel like I was making an impact. I didn't feel like there was a burning desire in me to do more, to be more, and to have more. And I've always been eager for more. And the problem was I didn't really know what to do or even how to go about it. Entrepreneurship to me was just a thing that was floating on on the side of my ears. And it was not only I started to read a few books, I started to listen to a lot of podcasts, I started to watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I started to understand that entrepreneurship is the way to break out of that rat race. It's the way to break out of that routine that we call Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And there's a lot of people out there today who really want to break out of that, who feel like they can make an impact in this world, who feel like they can do more. But the challenge is they don't really know what to do or how to do it. Okay. So that was me. I found myself in that position. And luckily, I got introduced to one of my first businesses and I got started and I embarked on the entrepreneurial journey and I thought it was going to be easy. You know, my first 6 months, I thought that this was it. Everything was going to work out. But unfortunately, it wasn't so. Okay. And that is just a reality. Entrepreneurship is not something that you can just get started in and you can just make it work in 6 months or a year. It's something that you need to dedicate more time, more effort, and sometimes even more sacrifice for you to actually make that happen. And so, I started my first business. It was a direct marketing business. I was able to start my second one after time went on in 2016. I started, I created a company that enables basketball players to be able to find and connect with each other. I was able to create a mobile app for that. And then I went on to real estate investment. And so that's just, an idea of what I've been doing, what I've been spending my time on. I like to create new things, create new businesses and build a team and network and just be on that entrepreneurial journey. That is what really gives me a level of satisfaction. And what I really want to do is just spend a few minutes and I guess talk about the values of entrepreneurship, talk about what it is, talk about the values of entrepreneurship, and just talk about, maybe just share a few things and a few ideas on what it takes to win in this thing that we call entrepreneurship. So for me, entrepreneurship is like, there's no way around it. Look around you. Everything you see today was made by an entrepreneur, right? From the shoes that you're wearing to the clothes that you're wearing to the earrings to the house that you're living in, to the car that you're driving. Sometime long ago, somebody woke up and said, you know what, I'm not happy with the way things are. Okay. I think I can solve that problem. And then they went out there, they embarked on that journey, and they actually solved that problem. Right. So entrepreneurs are problem solvers, right? And to be honest, when I think about it, right, even God Himself is is the ultimate entrepreneur. Look at what He created. Look at the design. Look at everything, and if we're made in His own image, I think that we also have, every single one of us, we have that spirit of entrepreneurship inside of us as well. Sometimes we just need a trigger. Sometimes we don't just need a catalyst to unravel, to unleash that greatness, to unleash that you know entrepreneurial spirit that we have inside of us is starting to do great things, to start walking on that journey. So entrepreneurship is important. My mentor used to say to me before, he was like, Frank, there are three types of people in the world, right? The first type of people are people who identify problems, and let's call them human beings because that's most people today. That's normal, right? The second type of people are people who actually find solutions to these problems. Let's call them visionaries. But there's a small minority of people who actually go out there today and solve those problems, and we call them entrepreneurs. Okay, entrepreneurship to me is like is like a necessity to move humanity forward. So I encourage everyone to embark on that journey. When you look around today, there's about 400 million entrepreneurs in the world. 400 plus million. I don't think that's enough. That's about 4.5% of the population. If we're 8.5 billion today, that is certainly not enough. When you look around, there are people solving things. There are people, and I read a story in the article, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about a lady somewhere in Africa. She knew how to harness water from air in a very cheap way. We all know hydrogen and oxygen is already in the air that we breathe, right? She's found a way to harness the water in a very, very cheap way. That's going to solve a lot of problem for a lot of people in the near future moving forward. On the other side of the world, in Portugal, there are people coming up with, ways to heal cancer. They're coming up with technology. So these are entrepreneurs that are trying to solve problems. So I think if we can raise that number from 4.5% to about 20%, I think most of the problems that we have in the world today, most of them are going to be solved because we all have the power to create. We have been given that creation power by the creator to be able to do things, to be able to manifest things. And if you can think it in your mind, you can make it become a reality. And that's what we find that is happening in the world today. So for me, that's entrepreneurship in general. It's quite important. I guess I would talk about the values of entrepreneurship and what it can do for you, especially for the youths today. When I look at people, they have a job and they're happy with their job, and that's okay, right? But what I say to them is that safe is the new risky. Okay, I'll say that again. Safe is the new risky. Why do I say that? Because, for example, let's look at what just happened recently with the whole COVID situation. I don't know how it affected, places, some places around the world, but I know how it affected our area and some countries in Africa and in Europe and in America. Lots of people have come to now realize that if their only source of income is from their job, they're actually one step away from poverty. Okay, I'll say that again. If your source of income, your only source of income is from your job, you're actually one step away from poverty. Think about it, because if anything happens to that job, like what we just seen happen with COVID, where lots of businesses were shutting down, employers were firing employees, letting go of people because hey, there's no business, there's no customers, there's no money, and so people are finding themselves becoming redundant. People are finding themselves having to go on the social welfare over here in Europe. If it's a case in Africa, in Nigeria, for example, what social welfare are you going to get on, right? There is nothing waiting for you if you lose your job. So I hope this was a wake up call for a lot of people to recognize now that, you know what, I actually need to do something that can generate multiple sources of income for myself and for my family, so that we can be okay in the future if something like this were to happen again. A global economic downturn or a pandemic that would cause something like that, it wouldn't be so much affected, right? So I say that again, safe is the new risky, right? So you don't want to play it safe anymore. You want to embark on that journey. We know we've all heard the saying that formal education can make you a living, but self-education can make you a fortune. A lot of people talk about linear income. There's linear income, there's residual income, there's passive income, there's different types of income. All I'm trying to say is that people just need to understand the values of embarking on an entrepreneurial journey can actually give you that satisfaction financially. And it can also give you satisfaction in every other areas of your life as well. Let me explain, right? When you embark on a journey, and I'll use myself as an example, when you embark on that entrepreneurial journey, you find yourself becoming more. You find yourself doing things and stepping out of your comfort zone, and being able to work on yourself and your character and your development. And it's almost like you're working on becoming a better version of yourself because you're forced to. When you're starting a business or you're starting a company or whatever it is, you're forced to take certain actions that you would not necessarily have taken if you were, let's say, just playing it safe in a job or whatever it is you were doing before. So entrepreneurship really wakes up that that spirit inside of you to force you to level up, force you to start taking necessary steps and necessary actions. And you're going to see yourself growing. You're going to see yourself becoming more. You're going to see yourself developing certain areas that are going to help you in every area of your life. I was forced, when I started my journey, I was forced to start reading multiple books. This was not something that I did. The moment I graduated from my master's degree a long time ago, I never read a book. I never picked up any other book to read on my spare time or to learn anything new. But when I embarked on my entrepreneurial journey, I was forced to start reading several type of books just so I can expand my mind. The magic of thinking big is one of them, that it forces you to dream big, to think big, because what you think is what you become. Right, we all know the saying. So how big you think is going to dictate the type of results that you're eventually going to get in your life. So the values go beyond just financial benefits of entrepreneurship. The values and so many other things and so many other gains are just on different level that forces you to level up, right? And a few things that I have learned along my journey as well, that I think it's really helped people to actually win in business, in entrepreneurship is, it's just like I mentioned before, thinking big. Everything starts with a dream. Okay, there's a saying that goes that dreams come a size too big so we can grow into it. Okay, dreams come a size too big so we can grow into it, because the person that you need to become to attain and to achieve that dream that you have in your mind, right? It's not who you are right now. You need to go through a transformation. You need to go through a complete paradigm shift. You need to rewire your mind. You need to become a better version of yourself. That's how you can attain those things, because success is not really something that you pursue, you chase after. Success is something that you attract, it comes to you. And how do you attract it to yourself? By the person that you become, the way you think, your character that you get, your leadership development. All these aspects could attract the right opportunities, the right people, the right environment, and the right circumstance for you to take yourself to the next level. So everything starts with a dream. And once you start working on towards that dream, execution is key, right? You want to focus a lot on execution. There's a formula that I got from a book that I would love to share with everyone that has been helping me. I always have it at the back of my mind. The formula is R is equals A times S. Okay, so this is helpful for the mathematical minds on the call, right? R is equals A times S. It's just like A is equals B times C, right? R stands for results. Okay, results is equals A for action times S for skills. So results is equals action times skills. Just like the mathematical formula, if you take tremendous amount of action, right? So you have zero action and you have a lot of skills, what is the result going to be? Zero, right? But if you have zero, if you have zero skill, but you take all the action in the world, what is the result going to be? Zero. So what you want to do is find the sweet spots where you're increasing the actions that you're taking. You're taking all that massive action on the goals and the dreams that you're working towards, and at the same time, you're developing your skills. You're working on yourself. You're developing your leadership. You're working on your mind. So if you're taking massive action and you're working on yourself and you're taking massive action, the results that you're going to be getting at the end of the day is going to be higher. It's going to be better, and you're going to be satisfied with that type of result. So that's a formula that I've always used in every new thing I want to embark on, right? When I look at it, I'm like, okay, in order to get results in this, I need to obviously take massive action. But what's the point of taking massive action if I don't learn the skill, if I don't learn what it takes to actually achieve those things that I want to achieve? So that's just a formula you guys can take with you. I got it from a book. I can't remember. It's for about 7 years ago. It's a really long time. So pardon me if I can't remember the book, but it's something that has helped me, and I think it can help a lot of people as well. And then when you start that journey as well, I think patience is key. It's crazy when you look at our society today. It's been reduced to instant rice, instant noodle, instant oatmeal, and instant success. That's what our society has been reduced to today, right? People think if it doesn't happen straight away, it's not going to happen. And that's how they view entrepreneurship. That's why a lot of people get started. After 6 months, they don't see the type of results they get, they eventually quit. Right. So instant gratification has become a very, very big problem for our youths today. A lot of youths today, I'm part of many, many networks, startup networks, business networks, entrepreneur networks, leadership networks, and most of them have the great intentions, but because they lack that patience, because of instant gratification, they don't really allow the seed to flourish. They don't really allow it, give it time for it to see it become a reality, if that makes sense. So you know, staying consistent is paramount. I don't know if anyone here knows John C. Maxwell. He's a guy, I call him the godfather of leadership. He's been teaching leadership for about 50 plus years, and a few things that I picked up and I learned from him. He talks about the rule of five, and an example I love to give is, imagine if, say, you wake up in the morning, right? You go to your back garden, and in your back garden there's a tree, right? And you have an axe at the back of in the garden as well. You pick up the axe and you hit that tree 5 times, just 5 times, right? You hit it on the same spot 5 times. You drop the axe, you go about your day. You wake up the next morning, let's say it's Tuesday, you go to your back garden again, you pick up the same axe and you look at the same tree and you hit the same tree on the same spot for just 5 times again. on the next day, and then you drop the axe, right? And then Wednesday the same thing, Thursday the same thing, Friday the same thing, and so on. If you keep doing that every single day, it doesn't matter how strong that tree is, eventually that tree is going to fall, right? You're going to conquer that tree. And that is the same with everything. If it's a bigger tree, it may take longer. If it's a smaller tree, it may take a shorter time. But if you keep doing hitting that tree in the same spot every single day, eventually that tree is going to fall. And this goes with for everything else that you do in life, and especially in entrepreneurship. You just keep staying consistent and keep doing what you need to do every single day, and you're going to get the results. Now, five things about this, right? Five quick things about this. It's important though that when you are staying consistent, you have to have a goal. So imagine you wake up, you go to the back garden, and there is no goal. There's no tree to fall down, to bring down, right? Nothing is going to happen. So it's important you have a goal when you're trying to be consistent. The second thing that is important is that you want to take massive action. Imagine you go to the back garden, you pick up the axe, but you never swing, right? You just pick it up, you look at it, you look at the tree, and you never swing. Nothing again is going to happen. The third thing is you need to have the right tool. So imagine you wake up in the morning, you go to your back garden, you pick, instead of picking up an axe, you pick up a baseball bat and you start hitting that tree. That's what a lot of people do today in business, in different areas of their lives as well. You start hitting that tree with a baseball bat. It doesn't matter how long you hit that tree, chances are that that tree is not going to fall simply because you are using the wrong tool. So in everything that you're doing, make sure that you're using the right tool while you're staying consistent as well. The fourth thing is you want to stay focused on the same tree, on the same spot. Now imagine if you picked up the axe in the morning, you went to the tree, and today you hit it on the bottom. The next day you hit it at the top. The following day you go to the other side and hit it from the back. If you keep doing that, you're all over the place. You're not focused. That it's going to take you a whole longer time, and that tree may not even fall because you're hitting it from different spots every single day. So it's important that you stay focused while you're staying, because when people hear consistency, they think, oh, I just have to keep doing the same thing and hope for the best. No, you have to be specific, you have to be focused, you have to have a certain level of intentionality with what you're doing. So you have to have the goal to bring down that tree. You have to make sure you use the right tool, right? Not using a baseball bat, for example, using an axe. If it's a tree that you want to bring down, you have to take the action. So you have to swing. If you don't swing, nothing is going to happen. You have to stay focused. You can't be hitting different trees or hitting multiple different places. You have to hit exactly the same spot. And finally, you have to stay consistent. So remember, I said every day. I didn't say Monday and the following week come back and hit the tree. I didn't say once a month. I didn't say once every 6 months or once or every year. I said every day. You go wake up, pick up the axe, hit the tree on the same spot just 5 times and drop it. Next day you pick it up. So you have to be consistent, daily routine. Those 5 areas really, really embodies what consistency actually means. If you're not doing those, you're actually going to find it quite challenging to actually hit the goals that you want to hit. So for me, in terms of one of the major things that have actually helped me as well is surrounding myself with the right people. I think this is one of the most important and the most paramount thing that anybody can do, not just in entrepreneurship, but in life. If you're a youth, if you're trying to achieve greatness, if you're trying to make an impact in this world, put your foot stamp on something on this world before you leave this earth, you want to surround yourself with certain type of people that force you to level up. You want to surround yourself with people that are doing better than you, that are going somewhere, that have big dreams and big goals, and they want to make an impact. Because if you're in that environment, it's going to foster your spirit, it's going to foster your growth as well. The way I like to think of it like a seed. Let's say you take a seed, yeah, and you put a seed on, say, the kitchen tile, right? And you water it every single day on the kitchen tile. You let some sunlight touch it. It doesn't matter how long you do that, because that seed is on the kitchen tile, it's not going to germinate. Why? Because it's in the wrong environment. But if you take that same seed and you put that seed in soil, all of a sudden, if you water it and let some sunlight touch it, in a very short period of time, that seed is going to germinate. Why? because now it's in the right environment. That seed is you and I. That seed is everyone. We all have that capacity to germinate, to blossom. We all have that capacity to grow into something better, someone better. Like I said before, we all have greatness inside of us, right? And sometimes a lot of people just need a trigger. I think it's just unfortunate that in most cases, a lot of people wait for trauma. They wait for heartbreak. They wait for diseases. They wait for something before they start changing the direction of their life. My question is, why wait? You know, why not start in bliss? Why not start when everything is going great? Okay, because it's going to take some time as well for that seed to germinate. So the earlier you start, the better it's going to be for you. It's the same. So if you're around the wrong environment, it's like you take a frog, for example, right? Think of a frog. If you put a frog in boiling water, right, that frog is going to dictate the temperature change, and he's going to jump out of that boiling water straight away. But if you take that same frog, right, and just put it on room temperature water, and then you turn the stove up just a little bit, that frog is going to remain in there and is probably going to boil to death because it didn't realize that the temperature was changing, because it was changing very slowly. That's where a lot of that goes for us as well. A lot of people find they are in certain environments, certain situations, certain places where they don't really see it. They think, oh, it's okay, everything is great. But down the line, 3 years later, 4 years later, they could see the results that they're, instead of them to elevate themselves because they're in the wrong environment, they're actually going backwards. Right. So that's how powerful the environment that you plug yourself in is. It's very, very vital, and is one of the things that I can actually make you or break you. And as a youth, if you really have big goals and big dreams and you want to make an impact, surrounding yourself with the right people is key. Personal growth as well is key. Developing yourself, reading the right books, finding a mentor, someone that you can learn from. The advantage of having a mentor is because you want to learn from mentors are people who are proven, who are tested. They've done it, they understand, they've made mistakes. So you can learn from their mistakes. All right, you can learn, they can guide you. What took them 5 years to learn, to achieve, because they have it, they can just tell you how to achieve it in 2 or 3 years. That's the advantage of having the right mentors in place to actually help you get to that path and get to that goal a lot more quicker. And I think the final thing that I want to talk about this evening, that I think is very important as well, is leadership. Okay, I know probably someone else has already talked about leadership, so I'm not going to spend too much time elaborating on it. But leadership is very close to my heart. Leadership has become, the love of my life. I love talking about it. I do leadership workshops, everywhere in Ireland, in the UK, and you know, leadership today is, I think, if you're ever going to build anything of great significance in this lifetime, you cannot do it alone. Okay, you have to do it with people. You need to surround yourself with smart, intelligent people. In other words, you need to build a team. And if you're ever going to do anything that requires you building a team in this lifetime, you have to know how to lead a team. First, how to lead yourself, but more importantly, how to lead others, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You want to pour into your life, right? And let your cup run it over so you can begin to pour into the lives of the people around you. So leadership to me is vital. There's so many different mentors out there that teach about leadership, and they can empower you on things you need to learn. Leadership is not just, it's like a language. It's communication skills. It's how you interact. It's who you are as an individual. It's not just a skill that you pick up and that's it. You never really arrive as a leader. It's continuous. You're always becoming, you're always growing, you're always learning, you're always going to be, because the world is changing. And if the world is changing, we all have to change and we all have to adapt to it. So leadership is not a noun. It's rather, I would call it a verb. It's action, it's doing. Leaders pave the way for others. Leaders are people who go where there is no path, and they leave a trail for others to be able to follow. And John C. Maxwell talks about the different laws of leadership, and one of my favorite laws he talks about is the law of the lid. And the law of the lid, states that, your leadership lid. Let's say your leadership lid, from a scale of 1 to 10, is an 8, right? You can only attract people up until level 8. and not any higher. If your leadership lid is a 4, you can only attract people up until 4 and not any higher. So people are level 4 and they are looking for team members that are like 8 or 9. It doesn't happen. If you want better, you become better. So you raise your leadership lid if you want to attract people. So if you want a level 8 type of a team member or a leader in your organization, in your team, and whatever it is that you're doing, you need to raise your leadership lid. Automatically you're not giving room for other people. Either people would grow to fill the gap, or you will attract other people to come in as well to help you on that leadership journey. And raise your leadership, focus on yourself, grow yourself from whatever leadership position you are right now, higher and higher, and you can attract the right people. So the law of the lid is very, very powerful. I use it as well in every single thing that I do. And I will say to all youths as well, anyone watching this, streaming this, right, my advice is just, hey, work on your leadership, develop your character, develop those skills, and you'll see certain things are being attracted to you. And it will become so easy that you'll be like, wow, I never really saw this coming. But because you became the person that could handle it, the universe and God found a way to attract the right people. Because as you are right now, there are people that are hoping and praying for you. They're hoping and praying for someone like you, the person that you need to become. So the moment and the quicker you become that person, there are laws in place that would attract those people to you, and you guys can work on great things together and actually start making things happen. I don't want to spend too much time on leadership because I've been given a very short time. But one thing I would say, just to wrap up on leadership real quick, is leaders really know how to connect with people, right? They know how to, so they listen, they learn, they observe from people, and then they know how to lead. A lot of leaders today say they call themselves leaders, but they don't listen, right? They don't learn. How do you lead if you don't listen? You want to be quick to listen and slow to speak. It's one of the most important skills that you can have, right? Be quick to listen and be slow to speak in any conversation that you're having with anybody, right? Try to see things from their perspective. Listen to them, because when you listen to them, you know how to have more influence on them, and you know how to impact them as well, because you have something, you understand them, you understand how they think and how they reason as well. There are 3 questions that every person, let's call them followers. There are 3 questions that every follower always asks their leaders. Okay, 3 questions. The first question is, does this person care for me? Okay, and this is a test of your compassion as a leader, right? They're not going to ask you directly, but this is something that's going on in their mind. So when you're leading people, they're always asking in their mind, does this person actually care for me, or do they just care about themselves, right? It's an unspoken question that every follower always asks the leader. They never say it, but they're thinking it. And it's not something they ask once. They're always observing, always re-asking the questions as time goes on. Does this person care for me? Which is the test of the leader's compassion. The second question that every follower asks is, can this person help me? And this is a test to the competence of the leader. Does the leader have the skills to take this person to the next level, to help them elevate themselves, right? Can you help me? And the third and final question that every follower asks their leader is, can I trust you? They never ask you directly, but they're always thinking about it. Can I really trust this person? It's an unspoken question. And this really is a test to the character of the leader. So the test of the compassion, do you care for me? The test to your competence, can you help me? And a test to your character, right? Can I trust you? Those 3 questions every follower always asks their leaders, not directly, but indirectly. And the moment you break one of those, either the compassion or the competence or the character, they will most likely not follow you anymore. So I just want to end that note there on leadership in general. If I had more time, I could spend hours and hours talking about leadership. But just to kind of wrap up here, I suppose, right? I, there's a quote once that I read, and it says, God's gift to us is more ability and talents that we will ever use in this lifetime, right? And our gift to God is to develop as much of this talent and abilities as much as we can in this lifetime. For me, when I heard that for the first time, it was so profound that I was like, wow, okay. Um, you know, God has given us so much that we don't even know. You don't even know what you cannot, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So, what I mean by that is you don't even know what your capacity is right now. You think, based on your level of thinking right now, this is what you can do, this is what you aspire for. But remember, every milestone you hit, there's always something new to reach for. That's just human nature. So you don't know what capacity you can achieve right now. So there's so much abilities and greatness inside of every single one of us. And our gift to God is to make sure that we unravel this greatness, that we spread our wings in this lifetime and we soar, right? And we make an impact in people's lives, in our lives, in people's lives. And imagine if everyone was doing that. Imagine if every youth was actually doing that, right? Imagine the ripple effect that this will have in the world. Everyone is pouring into themselves. A lot of people are always trying to give and pour into others, but they're not preparing their tempo. They're not pouring into themselves. If everyone started pouring into themselves, and then as they're doing that, they keep sharing. Imagine the ripple effect and imagine the impact that we would make. I just hope that a lot of people don't just come into this lifetime and just exist. And there's a quote that goes, most men die at 25, right? But they're not buried until they're 75. And that's because at the age of 25, most men and women, they stop dreaming, right? They stop striving to become a better version of themselves. They stop reaching for bigger dreams and bigger goals because their excuse is, oh, I'm married now, or I have kids now, and I have to take things easy. And there's so many excuses that they throw out there. So at that age of 25, a lot of people stop dreaming really, really big, and it's just so unfortunate. So they would exist in this lifetime, 65, 75, 85, 100, however long they live up to. They would just exist, and they would never really make an impact in this lifetime. And this is why Dr. Miles Monroe used to say all the time that the wealthiest place in the planet today is not in the far east where there's oil in the ground. The wealthiest place is not in South Africa where there's diamonds. The wealthiest place on the planet today is a cemetery, because in the cemetery you find dreams that were never realized, songs that were never sang, books that were never written, leadership development that were never developed, businesses that were never erected. The wealthiest place on the planet today is the cemetery. And I honestly think that most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but most people fail in life because they aim too low and hit. Okay, they aim too low and hits. And I'm hoping that everyone on this call, doesn't matter where you are, I'm hoping that you're not going to be like most people. Aim high, reach for the stars. You can be, you can do, you can have anything that you set your mind to. Okay, it's going to take some work, it's going to take some action, it's going to take you embarking on a journey that is going to transform the way you think, transform who you are, but it's of the better. It's you growing into who you need to become, a better version of yourself. It's not going to be easy, but it's important for you to become that person that can achieve those things. So I just encourage everyone to work on that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Pastor Glory, for giving me this platform and this opportunity. Like I said before, anytime something like this is happening where youths are coming together, everyone is sharing, everyone is trying to empower people, count me in. Okay, I love to share, I love to learn as well from others, and I think it's great what you're doing. So I'm going to hand it back
Wow.
over to you now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. Wow, that was a great, a great mystery and
Thank you.
revelation.
Thank
It's
you.
so deep. It's so deep, and I believe that viewers all over the world, they have learned so much. And if you can succeed after this great lecture, I think we need to take you to we need to go to your village to dig out some things out of the ground, because this is it's a wisdom is power. The Bible said by wisdom. It said the house is built by understanding is established. So what you have received today, people pay money. They pay money to receive this kind of a lecture, but Frank is giving us free. And I want to tell you that this young man you are seeing has gone so deep in wealth. He's a silent noise maker. You will not even see him driving a car, but he's very rich. He's very rich. The day I saw what I couldn't believe, in fact, I couldn't believe. I said, wow. So my next door neighbor could be this rich. Hallelujah. I and Frank, we have been together and we live in the same estate. If I'm a bad person, he will tell you. If I have any bad person or bringing any woman or whatever, doing womanizer or whatever, if I'm womanizing, he will tell you that this guy is not a good guy. But we live here, the same. In fact, his house is just the next house to mine, the same estate, Anna Square, St. Edmund Park. But my brother, man of God, I'm so proud of it. But I believe the viewers all over the world, they are watching and they are learning as well. At Reverend Nobon Umoite with Dr. Hero, they have few questions to throw across to you, sir.
Yeah. Any questions? Fire through.
Yeah.
Mr. Frank, Osayi, I'm so excited about this platform because it gives room for global conversation. What I said earlier from the onset that what we need at this point in time is a conversation. Why conversation? Because conversation always gives birth to a season. And you said some powerful truth, uh, some powerful nuggets on leadership and entrepreneurship, which is very, very important. Uh, the call of God upon our life is what brings us into the place of authority. The call of God upon our life brings us into the place of authority. The anointing of God upon our life brings us into an environment of functionality. But it is the entrepreneurship or the spirit of entrepreneurship in an individual that brings that individual into a covenant of prosperity because God said in his word that he will always prosper the works of our hands. When God created a man, he puts man in a garden and he gave man an assignment, and that's to dress and keep the garden. That's entrepreneurship. So that is very, very important. Now, how I want to ask you a very simple question. How is entrepreneurship, you know, moving in the 21st century in terms of like among the young people? You're going to do like a more comparison. You compare what is happening in Europe and what is happening in Africa and what is happening in Asia and even North America. Are the youth really coming to that climax where they are able to realize their God's given potential? Question number one.
Okay. Great question, by the way. Just to touch on what you said earlier on about, I think, God gives the template, right? Just to give you an example,
Mhm.
He gives the tree, but He doesn't make chair. He allows the man to figure it out to make chair. Does that make sense? Just as an example. So the template is there for any creation that we want, and we have the power and we can make it happen, right? Just to throw that out there. And to answer your question directly, when I look at entrepreneurship today in general and what's happening in the world, one thing is for sure, it's never been this easy to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship today has become cool. It's become more appealing compared to how it was back in the day, where, if you said, you were starting a business, people thought you were crazy. They're like, what are you doing? Or why don't you get something secure? But today everyone is like, trying to embark on that journey. Everyone is, because, when you look at what's happening with technology, it's become so easy to start a business, to start something very easy with, you don't need a lot of capital anymore. But to go deep into your question in
Absolutely.
how it is in Africa and how it is in Europe and how it is in Asia and all parts of the world. And I believe your question was, do people really have what it takes, right? Do people really have that
Absolutely.
capacity?
Absolutely.
Great, right? To
Absolutely.
to really embark on that journey. My answer is yes. I believe everyone can and anyone can. The question is, are you willing to go through it push through it? Are you willing to, sometimes you may need to sacrifice? Okay. Like I said before, our society has been reduced to instant rice, instant noodles, and instant success. A lot of people think it has to happen straight away because now there's so many things that happen so quick. You can message someone and they can get a message straight away in the other side of the world in like seconds. They can use the microwave and heat up a food in seconds, in minutes. So like people are now groomed and rewired to think that everything should be easy and everything should be quick. So, yes, people and everyone, it doesn't matter where you are, in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, it doesn't matter. You can do it. You can embark on that journey. The question I have for every individual, though, and the people on the call is, are you willing? Right? Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to push through? Because, like I said before, it's going to be a journey that you're going to need to push beyond yourself. You're going to need to grow into the type of person that you need to become to achieve those things. And that's always not going to be easy. In places like Africa, obviously, when we talk about resources in different continents, it might be a little bit more challenging. But I still think that whoever you are, wherever you are, if you if you can think about the problem, if you can think about the business idea, if where do you think thoughts come from, right? If God can put that thought in your mind, the necessary resources and or people or circumstances or situation that you need to make that happen, it's just in your fingertips if you look hard enough. A lot of people reason straight away. Like, I remember prior to my entire entrepreneurship journey, I used to think I need everything to be in the perfect place in order for me to start any type of business. I need the capital, I need the people, I need this. But today I've come to understand that you don't need anything except yourself. Just start where you are with what you have, and you'll be surprised, right? You'll be surprised on the things that will be attracted to you to help you to achieve those desires and those problems. But you need to stick with it long enough to see it become a reality. I'm not sure if that answers your question, Reverend, but that's my answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What will you have to tell leaders, mostly leaders in the corporate world and those church leaders about entrepreneurship? Uh, because you know what, a lot of church leaders are really not so much interested in entrepreneurship. They
Mm,
feel that ministry is their life. But today, we have come to realize that you can separate entrepreneurship from ministry. Even Jesus said so. He said, I'm going about doing my father's business. He used the word business, and that is entrepreneurship. So, what will you have to tell leaders, church leaders, about entrepreneurship as far as ministry is concerned? Because the church needs to be actively involved in entrepreneurship. Why do I say so? Because, the first man God created was not a pastor. The first man God created was not a bishop or any of those uh, uh, an accountant or whatever. The first man God created was a leader, and a leader with a spirit of entrepreneurship. He made him a leader and an entrepreneur. That's why he gave him the garden to dress the garden and to keep the garden. But in our contemporary society today, pastors are not really into business. They're really focused on the church life. What would you have to tell or to say to a pastor or to tell a pastor that is watching right now that is so zealous for the Lord and is less concerned about entrepreneurship as far as the work of the ministry is concerned? Thank you.
great question. Great question. And I think you mentioned it just a little bit there in your final remarks. But I think that it's great to be a pastor and it's great to walk on that path for sure, 100%. At the same time, I think it's important that you find a way to merge, your entrepreneurial journey as well as doing that. By the way, becoming a pastor and being, the whole pastoral work is has a certain level of entrepreneurial to it as well. Okay, because there are certain things that you need to
That's
do.
right.
You need to lead people, you need to manage certain things. And although it's not like a traditional type of a business where it's strictly for, trying to just make financial benefits, but there are some entrepreneurial things that you need to do, right? You need to grow into a certain type of person as well, because that's one of the values of entrepreneurship, in order to lead these people and preach and minister in a certain way, in the right way, to make an impact to people. So what I would say to them is, if you need to find a sweet spot, it's not easy. It's something that is quite challenging, but I know it's possible because I've seen other people do it. So you need to find a sweet spot to merge it, right? To merge that entrepreneurial journey as well as what you're doing, whatever that thing is. I'm not sure what lights a spark in your heart. I'm not sure what type of burning desire they may have, on what they want to do, because I know they're thinking about it. A lot of people think about it, right? I want to do this, I want to do this, but I'm here, I'm trying to focus on this path. So it's a very, very simple answer from my perspective, um, which is just get started. Get started. And I think here's what I think the main problem is. A lot of people are afraid of failure, right? They think, you know even this goes for non-pastors as well. A lot of people, they don't want to spread their wings because they're afraid that if they spread their wings, they may not be able to fly. And people are going to look at them and judge them for that certain type of failure, when it happens. And that's what stops a lot of people today, the fear of failure, that fear. So I would say to everyone that has that fear, that you don't know what is on the other side, right? What on the other side of your comfort zone, of that fear, could be greatness, could be everything that you ever dreamed of, everything that you ever wanted. Imagine a life where you're impacting millions, right? Don't let that fear stop you from taking that action, or stop you from embarking on that journey. And that goes for pastors as well. Whatever it is, it could be anything. Start small. Start, with, where you are, and just get started on it. And what happens, and I keep repeating this, what happens is, as long as you get started, now you start putting some energy thoughts into it. And when you start putting some energy thoughts into it, what happens is, people around the world in your area that also have similar type of thoughts, there's a funny way that God uses to attract those people together, right? Those people start coming together. So even if you had started small, but as far as you're thinking about it, you're putting energy thought into it, you're going to be attracted to the right people, right circumstances. And you could now, it's what started small could actually grow into something big. So, there, like I said before, there are many values, for pastors, embarking on that journey, because it's like bouncing off energy. It will actually help you, become a better version of yourself, which will eventually help you as well within doing your pastoral work.
Yeah, thank you so much. Two more questions before I hand over to the next person. Uh, Frank Osayi is a dynamic leadership expert that has uh, been a resource person in different leadership conferences in Europe, in Ireland, and in the UK, in Europe specifically, and all around the world through e-platform. If you're joining us now, mostly leaders, you really need to hear this word, because leadership, I keep saying it, leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. When the leadership is wrong, everything is wrong, either in ministry or in corporate world. So you get your leadership right. You get your leadership right, because it's very, very essential at this moment. The world needs a direction, and a direction that will lead to a destination or a destiny. Let me put it that way. So, Mr. Frank Osayi, next question. Uh, I always say one thing when it comes to I always say one thing when it comes to people, coming together. You did mention about one interacting with the right company. Your company define who you are. Uh, And also, your company can also increase your self worth because it is your self worth that determines your net worth. Agree with that statement, right?
Yep.
That our self worth is what determines our net worth because you cannot give what you don't have. You must have it in order to give it, and that is where self development as a leader comes in right there. So now we are in a conversation or a dialogue, a global dialogue. Now, association is not all about socialization, but a destination. Do you agree to that statement?
So
That
associate.
association, yeah, the association is not about socialization, but a destination.
Yep.
Because you did mention, yeah, and who you work with determine how far you can go, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, uh, uh, leaders, leaders all over the world that are watching right now, I want you not just to listen to us, but to put down something. You write something. The Bible says, write the vision, let it run, write it, because uh, you will need it one day. What you're hearing now, you will need it one day, so you can make reference. So, Mr. Frank Osoji, I want you to uh, define leadership in your own way. Like break it in such a way that uh, a youth uh, can understand what leadership is all about and what's the connection between leadership and entrepreneurship. There are so many definitions on leadership, but I want a leadership that will be more meaningful to the younger generation because this is uh, uh, a global youth summit. And some of the things we are saying here may be a little bit advanced, but they will need it one day. But I want you to go down a little bit to define youth leadership because uh, there is always every success gives birth to succession. All we are doing here is to birth a generation, a new generation of leaders. So define youth leadership to a more younger generation and the connection between leadership and entrepreneurship. When you answer that question, then I'll ask you the final question, then I'll hand over to the next person. Thank you.
No worries at all. Great question, by the way. So, like I said before, leadership is very close to my heart. I do some leadership workshops in different cities and in different countries as well, and I actually give leadership workshops to youths, to college students, some to people who are working in the corporate world as well. And what I always start with is I always let them know that everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. Okay. In the
Absolutely, absolutely,
corporate world,
absolutely,
in politics, in churches, everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And leadership really, when you think
absolutely,
about it, is influence, nothing more and nothing less. It is influence. It's
absolutely.
the influence that you have on certain people, right? When you look at when I think of big major leaders in the world today, Nelson Mandela was one of them. you know there are different leadership styles. Some people love to lead from the back while some people love to lead from the front. um, both styles are welcome, but Nelson Mandela, for example, he led from the back, right? Both styles are welcome, but the main thing about leadership and is about who you are. So if you're a youth, it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be in the corporate world, you can be in business, you can be in church, whatever it is. It's how you see yourself, right? It's your self image, because one thing is for sure, you would never achieve anything beyond your belief system. So if your belief system is here, if your self image about yourself and what you can do and what you can achieve is here, you will never achieve anything that is here, because this is where your capacity lies. So if you raise your belief or raise your self image, you can raise your capacity, and now you can achieve those things, right? So leadership is who you are, right? It's your character, it's your mindset, it's how you think, it's how you're wired, it's what your vision is, it's how you see the world. Do you see it from a larger perspective, or do you see it from a very minute perspective? you know so like leadership, like when if you find yourself, let's say you're not maybe in business, and maybe you're not in church, or maybe you're part of a small organization somewhere in your city or in your town, in your area. You can start there and don't think you have to be the leader of something great. Start where you are with what you have and what you're doing. Just start small. How do you start? Very simple. Start looking at the people that are around you. Start observing. Start walking slowly through the crowd. Don't always be the person who always talks. And
Absolutely.
leadership is not about being vocal.
Absolutely.
It's not about being the person who has the greatest skill, right? And I think this is what a lot of mistakes and a lot of mistakes that a lot of youths make today, is that they think in order to be a leader, I have to be the most well-spoken person in the room. I have to be the sharper person. I have to be the most intelligent. I have to be this and that. I have to look nice, and I have to have the best smile. It has nothing to do with that. Think about, let's look at like the lion in the jungle, right? The lion in the jungle he's the leader of the jungle. He's not the leader of the jungle because he's the fastest. He's not faster than the cheetah, right? The lion is not is stronger than the elephant. The lion is not taller than the giraffe. So there are so many other animals. The lion is not smarter than the snake, right? So there's so many other animals in the jungle that have different and better attributes than the lion. But the lion is the leader. So what makes the lion the leader, right? It's not those attributes, but it's simple. It's the attitude. And attitude is the way you think, it's the way you feel, your emotions, and it's the way you act. Those three things.
Absolutely.
Your attitude is the
Absolutely.
way you. A lot of people think attitude is just tied towards your action. Oh, I don't like that person's attitude. He's behaving or she's behaving a certain way. The action is
Absolutely.
actually
Absolutely.
too late. Everything starts from thoughts. So how the person thinks, how the person feels, does he manage, or does she manage her emotions effectively, right? Is she always triggered by you can't be an effective leader if you're always triggered by what people say. You always get angry, or you're always upset. You can't lead people because you can't even handle yourself. You can't manage yourself. So your emotions are also important when it comes to leadership. So what I would say to youths that are thinking about leadership, start there. Start with where you are, what you have. Start working on yourself. Start working on your emotional intelligence, your EQ. IQ is great, but now in the future, moving forward, EQ is going to be even more important, which is your emotional quotient intelligence, right? Start learning how to manage yourself, manage your emotions. Look at what you think. What do you think about? Because what you think about consistently is what you eventually do, right? So if you're thinking about certain things that you do not lead to the things that you want to do, you want to start changing that. You want to start undergoing a complete transformation of the mind. You want to start undergoing a paradigm shift where you can start shifting your mindset, shifting your beliefs, shifting your self image, and shifting the things towards the right direction to helping you become a better version. I heard somebody say this before one time. I don't know who it was, but they said, you can't change your life overnight. You can't change it. You can't become that leader like that, right? But here's what you can do.
Right.
You can change the direction of your life in a split second. You can't change your life,
Just
but you can
summarize
change.
it.
And if you just change it by 1 degree, all it takes, just 1 degree, you would end up in a completely different path than where you were supposed to end up before. So, to wrap up the answer, then, in terms of combining entrepreneurship and leadership, I think that's the sweet spots. If you can combine entrepreneurship with leadership, you've won because that's where you want to be, right? It's great to be an entrepreneur and to embark on that journey. But if you're not having the right leadership, because remember, you're going to have to form a team and lead a team to create something great and to make an impact in this world. And if you're going to have to create a team, you need to know how to lead a team. So, how to lead yourself first, and then how to lead other people as well. So, having that combination is like the sweet spot to becoming successful: leadership plus entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much. Because of time constraint, the next broadcast is coming up with the next guest. I'm not going to ask the next question. We are going to come up with a conference very soon on leadership, global leadership, and entrepreneurs summit. We will bring you back on the platform so that you can uh, go deeper on this subject of leadership and entrepreneurs because
Ab-
that is what we really need now. That's what we really need now.
Yeah, I would love to come back, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. I celebrate you. You are a
Thank you.
great leader, and this is the evidence. The whole world has seen the proof. Hallelujah. The whole world, they are watching right now. They have seen the proof, and this is not by going to school to study ABC, but this is reality. And I believe Dr. Hero has a question for you. Dr. Hero, please can you one or two questions and make it very snappy, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Pastor Glory. I have just one question for Mr. Frank. While you were talking, I was really learning. I'm very grateful that I am in this broadcast today. There is something that has been bothering me over the years. Now, while you were speaking, you said something about that everything we have in our society today is all about entrepreneurship. Like the shoes we have, that people are wearing, the bags they have. Um, you think about the rubber, the bucket we use in bathing, everything it revolves around entrepreneurship. Now, I discovered that in the Western bloc, let's look at the Western bloc, many of the entrepreneurs there and most of their inventions, innovations have been over centuries, 100, 200 years. They've been so consistent that each time I look back here in Africa, most especially in Nigeria, I discovered there is no consistency. Just like I want to take an example like an Econet. When Econet came in, before you know it today, we're having Airtel. You see a lot of changes. So I want to know what is really the problem. Why don't we have a consistent entrepreneurship here in Africa? What do you think is the problem, and what do you think would be the way out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier on in my talk. I think one of the problems of not having a consistent entrepreneurial or entrepreneurship movement in Africa is simply because of the people. Right? It's easy to blame the government. It's easy to blame this. It's easy to blame that, and everyone is always looking for who to blame. That's great. I must admit, we all know that there are lack of resources, there are lack of so many things. We all get that. But I think at the end of the day, um, if one person has been able to do it, right, it means anybody can. The challenge, like I always bring it back to, is are the actual individuals, are they willing to embark on that journey? And not only that as well, right? By the way, today there's a lot of startup ecosystem right now, especially in Lagos, Nigeria, in Abuja, and there's so many, resources that are coming now into Africa, and there's a lot of investments and people. Because I'm part of a huge network, Founder Institute is one of them, and they're looking for people with great business ideas so they can invest in them. So it's no longer as before where there was no investment whatsoever. Now there is enough investment. It just the only thing stopping now is just the people who have the ideas. They are not showing to the investors that they can actually execute on the idea, because ideas today are cheap. Let me put it that way. A lot of people don't know this, but they assume, oh, I have a great idea. There are websites you can go today and buy people's ideas, buy inventions that have not been put here before. People don't have the capacity to execute on them. That's why they're willing to sell the idea to anyone who is willing to execute. So execution is the name of the game when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's not about just getting started. It's great to get started. That is just the first stepping stone. But you need to execute, and you need to execute well, and you need to execute for a specific amount of time. And if you can't do that long enough, the chances are that your business or whatever it is you're creating will not meet the specification, or will not meet the standard at which you actually dreamt about it, right? So the problem, in my opinion, always comes down to the actual individuals, right? And they're not all to blame. Don't. So what I'm saying is, don't get me wrong. I understand the lack of resources. I understand the struggles. I understand that, for example, you take a kid who is in a village somewhere in Nigeria. They have a very great idea, right? But they don't have the the people around them to tell them that, hey, you can do this. Hey, you can. Let's try this. Let's try that. They're just a little kid. Maybe they're teenagers, or maybe they're in their 20s. They don't have a level of thinking that can enable them to say, I can actually go out there and do this. I can find some people, we can come together. They don't really think that way, right? So I do understand that there is a lack of that type of upbringing for the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and there's a lack of resources as well. But at the end of the day, there is nothing different between anybody living in Asia or Europe or America from a human perspective compared to anyone living in Africa. We're all the same, right? We're all equal. So whatever it is anybody else can do in any part of the world, we can also do it as well. And I said this before, if something comes to your mind, if your thoughts comes to your mind for an idea or for something, think about it. Where did that thought come from? Where did it come from? Right? How did it land on your mind? And why not somebody else's mind? How did it come into your life? Right? How did it manifest as a thought into your life? So when you think about it from that perspective, then you must understand that if I can think it, I can achieve it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to think it. So if every youth, every young leader or aspiring leader in Africa start with that mindset. If I can think it, I can achieve it. Because if I could not achieve it, there's no way it would come to my head. There's no way that thought or that idea would come to my head. If they start there, all of a sudden they're empowered. All of a sudden, anything that comes to mind, they feel like I can do it. And then when they hit their first obstacle, guess what they're going to be saying to themselves? Actually, it's just an obstacle. I can go around it. I can go beyond it. I can go through it. I can go over it. I just have to keep going because I know that I can achieve it. This is just a step. This is just a little setback, but it's possibly a setback for a comeback, right? So I think we need to start from the individuals, whoever you are. And obviously, it would obviously have to start from whoever the guardians are and the parents as well, to, to put, to give them the right tools, and, especially when they're growing up and everything, to make sure that their minds are wired and they're empowered and they have a big and a strong self-image about the self, and they see themselves doing great things. Because like I said before, if they don't see themselves doing anything great, and if it's here, they would always only achieve anything up to here. But the moment you can stretch their thinking, you can stretch their ambitions, you can stretch their mindset, they now can achieve a whole lot more. So I hope that answers your question. It is a big problem in Africa. I understand that, but it's changing. There is now a startup ecosystem. There are now people, willing to invest, and what they invest in. I have investors within my network, and one of the major things they say that they want to invest in is not the idea. They don't care so much about the idea. They care about the team and the people who are going to execute on those ideas. So the moment we start working on ourselves and developing ourselves in Africa, the better chances we're going to have.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Pastor
Pleasure.
Glory, once again, thank you so very much. Thank you for this broadcast. Thank you for this summit. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Dr. Hero. Mr. Frank, I want to seize this great opportunity to thank you despite your busy schedule today. I know you have been very busy from morning till now, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you once again on behalf of Excellent God Ministry for creating time to share your wealth of experience with the viewers all over the world. And we are strongly believing God that there are so much in you, and we have to dry it up. So by hosting you back, well, I will continue to host you until you have nothing to say again. So,
That's fine by me.
God bless you. Once again, viewers all over the world, this is Frank Osayi. Is a wealth experience in entrepreneurship. So please, if you really want to get to the next level of your business, and if you want him to show you the way how you can get to the mountaintop in the area of business, please make sure you contact Frank. Frank is on Facebook. He's also on YouTube. He's on IGP, which is Instagram. So please get in touch with him. And I tell the truth, if you can give him the first 3 months of your life and of your time, your life will never be the same. He's a great man. God bless you, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Frank, once again for your time. God
Thank
bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Frank. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. God bless you, Dr. Hero. The last speaker for tonight is Amina, all the way from the United States of America. And she will be leading us on a very dynamic topic tonight. Please don't miss it. This huge summit, we are running it like a marathon, 24 hours until the battle is over because the youth must get to the mountaintop this year in the name of Jesus Christ. Reverend Noble, it's good to have you back, sir.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, sir. So we are ending this broadcast now, and in the next 30 minutes from now, Amina will be on live. God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Hero.
Thank you, sir.